I am like on the edge of going all in on Final Fantasy. I mean, I'm in.
Yeah,
like I love the game. But I can feel myself on the edge of being someone who enjoys the game to someone who lives the game.
What other way is there to game?
Do you remember how we met?
Oh boy. It had to be like Twitter related. It had to be, I'm thinking video game related.
Yeah, 100%.
Was it WoW? Like talking about WoW or?
No, so I looked this up and the DM is still there. We have known each other since 2016.
Wow, when the world started to go crazy. Yes.
So we have been friends since 2016, and you were one of the first people on Twitter to welcome me to the data science community. Yeah, so you invited me. You were like, I have this data science Slack group, and this was before Slack was ubiquitous. This was the first time I had heard of Slack. I was like, I don't know what Slack is. So let me download this app and like log in. And so you were like, yeah, it's for data science, but we have a video games channel that I think you would like.
That sounds exactly right. Yeah. That was when I started Friendly Tech Space.
Yeah. Way back when. You've been going strong with that for, I mean, I think of you as one of the original data science community builders, right? Like that was everybody was in there.
Yeah. I'm trying to reinvigorate it actually. So the whole reason I started it was, so I had been at these different startup jobs and yada yada, doing my thing with big company and trying different things, and I knew I wanted to start my own company. And I knew I wanted to go out on my own, but I had met so many awesome people just along the way at conferences, on Twitter, like just all over the place. And I'm like, I need to like get all these people together. And I also didn't want to be disconnected from everyone in the community or, people at my job when I went out on my own. So it was totally like a selfish thing where I was just like, I want to invite all these smart, interesting people so that I could talk to them and also see them interact. Because I love being like a fly on the wall when I introduce two people that I think would just like, explode and talk about crazy things. So yeah, I remember messaging my friend Jimmy, who you talked to, and I was like, dude, I have this idea. What should I name it? And I think before he even responded, I had created it. I was like, don't worry about it. I got it. Friendly Tech Space. It's all done. You're invited. And I invited like all my computer science, like college friends and old coworkers and, again, just people I met. And it was supposed to be a place where like you could talk about anything. Privacy was huge. No recruiters allowed. Like, I have an issue at work or I have a technical question and I don't feel like dealing with the dredges of Stack Overflow and getting flamed for not having a reprex because I have proprietary data, stuff like that, where I was just like, there could be a much friendlier, less toxic community where we could talk about these things. And yeah, it like grew organically. It was invite only and people were like, I have a really great person that should come join Friendly Tech Space. And I even pull contractors from there now if people are looking for consulting work. But anyway, all that to say, COVID, a lot of stuff happened. Wasn't as active in it. And we just relaunched our quarterly. We do these like tech talks. And we just had one yesterday with a member who talked about the history of data storage. Just so nerdy, and it was actually super fascinating. And he gave an awesome talk. He went from like talking about how data used to be stored and carved onto bones all the way up to like the SSD. Yeah.
Okay, I was like, because it started, I remember when like data lake was a thing. It did not even cross my mind to go back.
Oh, yeah, he went to like punch cards, but it was for like textiles, and like the thread and needle will go through the certain holes in the punch card. Like it was pretty cool. So that's all recorded. And if people are interested, like I can get them more info on that, but I can share those links later.
Yeah. Friendly Tech Space. I do remember lots of data science stuff. I remember people have asked coding questions for a really long time. There was a very active Game of Thrones channel. I was so sad when I saw that archived because it was like the end of an era for me.
I know. Well, and now there's House of Dragon, which I have not watched yet.
I will say that the show will be successful despite the showrunners' work. So I think the acting is phenomenal. I think the storylines are very rushed. I don't think there's a lot of character development, but I think that the acting is phenomenal. And I hope that the showrunners just kind of slow down and let the story breathe a little bit. So
interesting. Okay. Well, I waited till they were all out so we can binge it. So
yeah.
we'll
Yeah,
see.
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I've been rewatching Game of Thrones and I'm realizing as I'm, just kind of blitzing through it, I'm at a point where I'm like, oh yeah, I know that I watched this and I don't remember anything that happened. I'm Googling like, did Jaime Lannister die? Like what happened to Jaime Lannister?
It's like a lifetime ago, Game of Thrones. That was,
Yeah.
Pre-COVID. Everything pre-COVID is like,
It's
we need
just
like
a different, yeah.
It's like BC, like before COVID.
Before COVID. So speaking of before COVID, you worked as a data scientist, primarily in kind of biotech, right? And then you started your own company. Can you give like how did that happen? What is the path that you took?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Let's see. So I started at a biotech company after I started learning R actually in like 2005 or 6, which was pretty early, and worked for just really smart PhDs and MDs at Harvard Medical. And I felt way in over my head, but learned a ton. Got a job at a small biotech startup called GNS Healthcare. Worked for a lot of more smart people, learned a ton. But there was something always that I knew I wanted to do. I had started to go to these entrepreneur meetups at Venture Cafe in downtown Cambridge, was talking to like VCs, and it was just a really exciting, idea to go out and do something on my own. I wanted to always be my own boss. I wanted to always have my own schedule. Sitting at a desk for 8-9 hours a day and being told what to do, I was miserable. Like, even in the coolest job, and not just at my first job, all my jobs, I was happy for a year or two, and then I'm like, okay, I'm sick of this. Like, I'm sick of either doing the same thing or either being underutilized or undervalued. And I think it's a common theme for a lot of people in this industry, especially the people that really care and want to do good work and just make a difference. So anyway, I tossed around a lot of product ideas. For some reason, I thought I needed a product and I needed to raise capital, venture funding. And pretty quickly after hopping around different startups and even working at non-healthcare startups, I was like, I have a lot of skills that, I could use and that people will pay for. So yeah, I think what happened was I burned out a little bit from working at startups for so long. Took a break and decided I want to go try a big company, Fortune 500. I think Biogen's in the Fortune 500. And I went there for a data science position. And I thought, I'll just take my time, learn some things, do one thing really well, and that lasted all of, 9 months. I had an old boss hand me a lead and for a consulting project that I started on the side. And then I had a Harvard professor come to me that wanted sports data scraped from ESPN to automate his betting. And before I knew it, I was doing stuff on the weekends and there was too much. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. I bought the domain name TCB Analytics. It's not clever. It's just my initials. Same way I did Friendly Tech Space. I just kind of impulsively do things, sometimes without planning, which is why I'm fortunate I have my wife, who's very much not a risk taker, to even me out. So I told my boss at Biogen, he was great. He was like, we'll be a client. And then all these different departments I worked with at Biogen, drug manufacturing, safety, commercial, they all came on as clients. So that was awesome. And I remember being scared, leaving and thinking, the checks are going to stop coming soon, 2 weeks from now. So it's all up to me now. And I loved that feeling. I was like, there's no one else to blame now but myself. And I like that sense of ownership and accountability. And I feel like I've been talking a big game for a long time. So why don't I just prove it to myself? And I haven't looked back since. It's been awesome.
Yeah. So how long has TCB Analytics been around?
So I started in I want to say November of 2015 or so. Yeah. So right around when I started Friendly Tech Space, right around when I messaged
Yeah.
you. Yeah, I was fortunate to go on, my wife's health insurance, of course, and we had her income, so that helped. But, I definitely recommend to anyone doing it, like save,
Mhm.
as much as you can before you make the leap. What I really did was bootstrap, like have paying clients while I'm building this thing.
Mhm.
You're sort of grabbing at every possible opportunity in the beginning, but now we're starting to be more selective. We're
Yeah.
forming more of a niche and where we want to focus. So yeah.
So I think there's two things that are really, I mean, there's a ton of interesting things. There are two interesting things I want to focus on. One is that you've done all of this with primarily the R programming language, correct? Like R and SQL?
R, SQL, maybe a little bit of Python here and there, not much. Shiny is like our main focus now, building out Shiny dashboards. And then every now and then, some BI tools will help with like Tableau or Power BI or something, but trying to move away from that and focus mainly on Shiny and R.
Yeah, which is pretty incredible because I think when people think about data science, machine learning, moving into that space, I think that there is a predisposition to assume that it's all done in Python, and you have almost been turning away clients and you work primarily in R, which I think is just an incredible success story.
Yeah, I think mainly it's because of where I came from in the healthcare space. So R was just the go-to de facto language created by statisticians, right? For statisticians. And it had all the packages to analyze gene expression data way back when. And I think having the experience of using that outside of healthcare as well was what was really valuable. I was like, oh, I can like do things really quickly and effectively in R. And my coworkers would be coming up to me. I worked at a telecom company and I'd create, a chart, ggplot, and post it in Slack, and they'd run over to my desk and be like, how'd you do that so fast? So you can only imagine when like Shiny came about, it was like, wow, I'm now like, I can build data products.
Yeah. And so the other thing is, you left Biogen with clients, right? People were reaching out to you. You were talking about this guy from Harvard with the sports data. And this to me suggests like a lot of relationship building. And is that something that you like? I consider us both extroverts. We are, maybe you may be an introvert. I don't mean to tell you what you are, but like we both enjoy talking to people to some degree and connecting people and introducing people to each other. Is that something that you built intentionally as you were progressing through your career, or did it just kind of happen because you will talk to everyone?
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. So yeah, I couldn't wait to get out of my hometown, honestly, in Rhode Island, and like get out and meet interesting people, and learn from people. And I've always had that like, I just want to meet interesting people and get out of my like little bubble. So yeah, and then my first co-op, I was really lucky to have a mentor who advised me on like adding every single person on LinkedIn that I met. And so I did, and I started building my LinkedIn network in like 2004 or something. And, I'd go to all these conferences. I was going to the Biotech Tuesday meetup in Cambridge. So I was just always at these events, always at these meetups, just having a blast, talking to people. You meet some really cool people. Not everyone is, but they're, most of the time people are if they're at these things, they want to meet people too. And it's fun. So yeah, I would go home with like a stack of business cards and just like the next day, like go on LinkedIn and just add them and try to keep in touch with the ones that like really resonated, whether it's a conversation about anything. It didn't even have to be data related. Just, met a lot of cool people that way. And then I think I was even hired at one point for some of my connections in the healthcare space in Boston. So I was really lucky to just work for like a lot of well-known established people early on in my career.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. And I mean, we met because of video games. And ultimately, I've done some work for TCP Analytics, right? Yeah. So you never know, like you don't always have to talk shop. No. But speaking of video games and hanging out with other people, we have lots of things in common, but one of the things we have in common is World of Warcraft. And I am so excited to talk to you
something that like a lot of people don't want to admit, right? Like
Yes.
my wife was more comfortable telling people that she was gay than she was that she played World of Warcraft.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, how long have you been playing WoW?
So she got me, and I blame her. Okay,
Oh,
because
stop this.
I played games. Yes, I played games a lot.
Okay.
When I was younger, Counter-Strike. I was more like StarCraft, Counter-Strike, Diablo, shooter games, you name
Mhm.
it. I've played a lot of games, but I never played an MMO.
Yeah.
And I avoided it in college on purpose because there would be guys failing out of school because of WoW. There was a guy I worked with on a co-op that would be falling asleep at his desk because he was up raiding the night before. Right?
Yeah, there would
So
be like newspaper articles where people would be like, I realized when I had to pull over in the middle of a family vacation at a truck stop to raid for 3 hours, and then my family wouldn't talk to me, that maybe I had a problem.
yeah. It's so I started during the pandemic,
Okay.
actually sorry, right before the pandemic, I think. All my friends, it came back out, Classic relaunched. So it's a game from 15 years ago,
Yeah.
right? And so I want to say it was like 2019 that Classic relaunched.
Well, there were the vanilla servers, right? So way back when you could play on a vanilla server. These were
Yeah,
community led,
right.
but there was a big demand for these servers. And so I don't remember the details. I can't even remember the guy's name, but there was like a sit down with Blizzard, and then Blizzard was like, I think we can monetize this. So then relaunched as WoW Classic,
Right.
which for comparison, right? WoW retail is you play, you get like all of these quality of life perks and changes to the game. WoW Classic is you get what you got when the game was released.
15 years ago. Yeah. Right. So, and it was, I think, so all my friends, like, no, a lot of my friends that play video games were like, guys, we should all play and form a guild and do this. And I'm like, all right, I'll try it because it's being kind of reinvigorated. There's a community now, and there's all kinds of people in the low levels, and the whole idea is there's a community where you can like party up and play with people. So yeah, so I gave it a try, and when I think I did my first like raid, and I found out about this thing called Warcraft Logs. And that's when I got like super hooked, right? Because Warcraft Logs is all data.
Yeah.
It's just a ton of data on literally everything. What you casted, what time, what second, what you used, where you moved. I mean, there's a lot. So immediately I was like, oh, I can use this to get better. And yeah, so I started like diving into the logs, and now that's like my kind of like data driven weekly video game event.
So do you sit down? So, and I think with logs, you can even pull other people's logs, right? Like if you're in the same raid, you can then parse the data for your entire raid and very much say, hey, Tanya, you stood in the fire, you wiped, like this is
I
all
try
you
not
felt.
to do that. Yeah. Exactly.
So, but you're in a guild where it's not a DKP guild, is it?
Yeah, actually it's I think it's GDKP. It's like
okay.
Gold. I don't even know what they say. It's like a G bid where we basically do these raids weekly, and anyone can come and sign up to be what's called a buyer. Mostly though, it's just our group right now, just like you want to get all the good gear and loot and upgrades for your people first, and then you can kind of carry other people through the content. So what happens is, a piece, let's say a sword drops, everyone wants. People can bid on it with the in-game currency, gold. And like, let's say it's going for 300 gold, someone can bid 400. It's literally an auction, and the highest bidder gets the piece. At the end of the run, let's say there's like 25 pieces, that gets divided up and split between the whole raid. And the guild host gets a cut, like 10% or something, for organizing, running it all. So it's like, I mean, it's a lot of, it's like a good exercise on like how hard it is to coordinate 25 people to do something. Like we all know if we worked in,
because you're doing 25-man runs, and it's all bids, it's all gold bids or G bids for every piece of loot that drops. And a bot, and loot generally drops from a boss, but like a boss can drop more than one piece of loot.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's not even 1-to-1.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You, I believe, are doing something data science-y to help your guild manage this.
Yes. So this is, anytime I see an opportunity to like automate something or make it like less Excel-y or get the hell out of Excel, I jump at the opportunity, right? So yeah, there's all these like crazy Google Sheet templates that are out there for people to use. And what you have to do is copy paste all the data in. It's very manual. And someone asked me a question because they knew I'm like a data nerd in my guild. They're like, hey, can you calculate this for me? And I was like, you know what? No, like in Google Sheets, it actually would take me longer to figure out than if I were to just get the data in R and do it there. So that's what we started to do. So now there's a couple of like add-ons that export the data in JSON, CSV, all these formats. They make it really easy. We have a shared sheet, and we talked through everything, like the data formats, and I was like, put it here, copy paste the loot, the bid data here, and then copy paste the raiders that attended here, right? So now I literally have a job that runs on EC2 that pulls that data in a half-hour increments and populates, pre-processes it all, calculates the host cut, totals up like how much people are spending, how many raids they've attended. You can slice the data. You can look at like, how much did this sword go for? And I have a shiny app. And so now we use that, which is actually a lot easier. Everyone seems to love it. Like after raid, everyone's like, can you update the app, Tanya? So it's cool to see people kind of like nerd out about data though, and then get excited about it and then be like, oh, how are you doing this? And are you hosting this? I'm like, shinyapps.io is hosting it.
Have you converted anybody to a Shiny programmer through World of Warcraft?
I think it has happened. Yeah, because I've had people ask me about it and then get interested and say like, oh, it's free, and then they want to go build their own thing. But yeah, people are pretty impressed by it. They're like, wow, you did this like all by yourself.
Yeah. And I think, well, and you didn't just like do it, but you strung together literally a full stack using Shiny, right? Like you've got the data extraction, transformation, load, the ETL, or it's got a new name now, right? Like data engineering. I don't know. I can't keep up with it all.
Who knows?
And then you built the
pipeline,
right? You built the app, but then the app has visualizations and it's interactive, and then you have it hosted, right? It's deployed somewhere. It's in prod.
Yeah.
And people use it.
Yeah. And I said, so I'm using the free tier right now, which is, I think Shiny Apps gives you like 25 active hours. And I told them, I'm like, if we go over and I have to pay, $10 a month for this, I expect some in-game gold.
Yeah, absolutely.
so they do. They give me like gold. So now, it's pretty sweet. Yeah. And I had to like show them how to make like a lookup table. So, you can have multiple characters. Yeah. And so multiple names. And so we need a primary key like lookup for one person. And then roll up all their alt accounts to the main account. So these are these are problems we see all across, every industry. Yeah. I mean, I've definitely used the same mechanism before where we don't need a full blown database. This data's small. We just want to use Google Sheets. So the client can put stuff there. We pull it and we do stuff with it. If you need more audit and controls around more sensitive data, obviously you want to do something else. But for stuff like video game log data, that's great. Have you done the same thing for auditing like Shiny app logins, like when they logged in, how many times, so there's applications where you don't need to go crazy with a full-blown database.
Yeah, I think this is something that you do incredibly well, where you are really focused on balancing. You get people to the thing that they need pretty quickly, and you do a lot of balancing between what is going to solve the problem and solve it to the level of difficulty that they need, right? Like you could have set up a whole authenticated database and made a really complex system for this. You could have over-engineered it. That's what I'm looking for, right? You're really good at figuring out where to over-engineer and where it doesn't need to be over-engineered. Do you have, is there any kind of heuristic or internal guidelines you have, or is this just trying to get stuff done quickly?
It's like my constant daily battle between, it's a really good question, because there's pros and cons to this whole rapid prototyping thing that I've been talking about now for years. Like, you want to build something quickly. The thing is, I've struggled between really fully fleshed out requirements that are pages and pages and pages long that almost always change. Like, once you build the thing, they're like, oh, wait a minute, now they see it, never mind. So it's this balance between building something tangible that people can react to and just get that feedback faster.
Yeah.
Like, all you're doing is creating a faster feedback loop. It's this whole, like, what's the term everyone loves? Human in the loop type thing.
Yeah.
Where, like, you can't have that loop until you see something. You could sit here and come up with every rule, every exception. You're never gonna, with data products, you're never gonna predict every possible thing that can go wrong.
Yeah.
It's just not possible. So yeah, it's what I like to start with, and what I always try to start with is, let's talk about why we're doing this. Like, what is the question you have, right? And people have a really hard time answering that sometimes. I mean, some people want to just get the data and put it all somewhere, do stuff with it. And, like, that's not helpful. So for example, the WoW thing, I'm like, what are you trying to do? Well, we want to make sure people are, number one, not attending and just taking all the money, like never paying or buying anything. So you're just tracking a lifetime profit, right? Okay. We want to know, how many raids people are attending for attendance purposes. Okay. And the last one was something like, we want to know how much items are going for, like, historically. And those are, like, that's fine. That's sometimes, some of those are really helpful. Like, I think the first one is the most helpful because there's a action that can be had. Like, if someone's not pulling their weight and always receiving, okay, you kick them, right? You don't invite them to the next one. So those are the most valuable business questions when you can actually do something about it. If someone says, I just want to see spend by, person by day, I'm like, I could do that, but, like, why? What do you want to do with that information? And that's the way clients can sometimes get really hung up. Like, they don't know. And that's, again, I think that's, like, the holy grail of, like, data science is, like, why the hell are we doing this? Right? Why are we building a machine learning model when all you need is to know, average sales here and figure out which sales guy to talk to?